Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the August 4th, 2009 meeting of the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors. Would you all please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We almost started with that.
I tried. I said, oh, that's good.
Okay, on the announcements this morning, I'd like to announce that a closed session was held last week on July 28th pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. This was a conference with our labor negotiator and Director of Human Resources Risk Management regarding Service Employees International Union Local 1021, also known as SEIU, and the DSA, resulting in nothing to report. Okay, giving our attention to the agenda this morning, we have the first thing is the consent agenda. We have 3 items, including the minutes. I guess the minutes have been held off for 1 week for the July 9th, the past meeting on July 9th. So we have only 1 item on the consent calendar this morning. Anyone wishing to remove that item can state their intent at this time, either board members or members of the public. If not, do I hear a motion?
I move.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is 5 and no dissenting, so it passes unanimously. Okay, we have to take a little breather here until 9:10 before we go on to public comments. Okay, Mr. Lawton, are we back on the air?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Continuing with our agenda this morning, we have the public comments. I'd like to remind you that this is a time when anybody can come forward and talk about virtually any subject for 5 minutes or 15 minutes per topic. So who would like to be first this morning? Good morning.
Good morning, Jim Macedo. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Sheriff's Management Unit, the bargaining unit. We received the latest request from Mr. Bill Avery from Avery and Associates regarding the concessions requested by the county, and we have accepted. We voted on and accepted those requests. A letter was sent to Human Resources and back to Mr. Bill Avery yesterday.
That's good news, Jim. Thank you.
Tracy Busby, Deputy Sheriff's Association.
Morning.
Also, we received the offer from the county. It came in a letter from Mr. Avery from Avery and Associates. Last night we had an emergency meeting, and the Deputy Sheriff's Association overwhelmingly agreed to the concessions and to hopefully move forward. One other note, we also revisited the bumping right situation that developed during this budget, whatever we want to, the process that we had. And we also are requesting a meet and confer with Human Resources to try to get this into our MOU in a fashion that we can reasonably deal with these circumstances in the future. We also are going to allow, in the meantime, we voted to allow bump backs when it does not displace any current member in our association, and any member that would be bumping back in a position, it would be to that member's agreement. And we, like I said, we're also requesting a meet and confer with Human Resources so we can somehow try to get this resolved. At this time, I don't know if that does anything, but if we would have a member retire or anything in the next, within the next year, that the lieutenant that was displaced, we would be open to receiving that member back. So I guess I will give copies of these to the clerk for you guys. We've sent all also to Human Resources, to Francine. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Tracy.
Tracy.
Good morning. I am Janet Dock. I am president of the Friends of Calaveras County Library. I have come to dispel the myth that libraries are simply a collection of books used only by people who like to read. Within the library system, our staff and volunteers work with other departments to take care of the citizens in our county, including the disadvantaged. We provide social services by assisting people without computers to fill in government forms, search for jobs, and then apply for them online. Many come in with little or no computer skills and lack of experience in maneuvering the internet. Our workers assist them. Our fax machines are used to send in unemployment forms, resumes, job applications, housing applications, and government-requested paperwork. Calaveras Adult Tutoring Program, which is part of the library system, has helped people get jobs, retain jobs, learn job skills, get their GED or their high school diplomas. They tutor jail inmates, parents with substance abuse problems, and people involved with the CalWorks and the probation department. The branch libraries provide the meeting places for these tutors. Because of the economy, many colleges and universities are offering more online classes for their students. In McCollum Hill, we have had several students that did their registration and participated in classes online from our library. We support education by having story hours at many of the branches. For many preschoolers, this is their first introduction to books and the socialization needed to succeed in school. Our summer reading program, where kids got rewards this past summer for reading the books that they took home, we had hundreds of kids involved all across the county. Local branches provide resources locally. Access within walking distance in the towns allows those without cars or limited funds for gas to use the libraries. Towns use the facilities for town meetings, for organizational meetings, and other training and counseling sessions. Caring people come in to check out books, DVDs, and magazines for friends or relatives that are homebound. Finally, our 7 branches are kept open by branch attendants paid low salaries for part-time work and no benefits. All 7 branch attendants cost less than $96,000, which is about the cost of one county worker with their benefits. Having the branch libraries open with part-time staff and many volunteers adds to the quality of life in our county citizens, and it's a small impact on the county budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Fran Devlin. I'm an Arnold resident, and I'm here representing the libraries as well. Janet has spoken very eloquently and, as a matter of fact, has said some of what I had planned on saying, so I just want to expand a little bit on it. I was not able to attend last Tuesday's meeting, and I'm sorry I wasn't. So my purpose for being here today is to respond to the statements that were made by the Calaveras County Public Safety Employees Association Representative Jeannie Middleton, law enforcement, and public safety. I know that we are all emotional about this. We are all passionate about our jobs. We are all facing layoff, and I understand that. But I couldn't sleep at night without responding to those statements that I felt were unnecessary and rather disappointing, as a matter of fact. We've been here before. We've talked to the Board of Supervisors. We've made our points. We've presented you with facts. At no time did any representative or supporter of our library say or imply that law enforcement and public safety were not essential public services. At no time did any representative or a supporter of the library dismiss the services that those departments provided as any less than any other department. And at no time did we ask the county to lay off or shut down any portion of the county of any county department in order to save our libraries. The public perception, unfortunately, right now is that law enforcement and public safety are at war with the libraries. We are not their enemies. We are not their enemies. We are your partners. We work in partnership with you to keep our community safe. By educating and providing relevant community information, we partner with you in crime prevention and fire safety. We work in partnership with you to keep our children and teens reading, learning, and moving on to higher education and away from criminal activities. We work in partnership with you to keep community members out of our courts, our prisons, and our probation. We go into prisons, as Janet said, to tutor the incarcerated. Existing research indicates that prison literacy programs raise skills and reduce recidivism. Therefore, we partner with you to reduce crime and recidivism. This summer, as Janet mentioned, all the libraries held a summer reading program, and at our Arnold Branch Library alone, 100 families participated. 100 families that are reading together and encouraging self-education, lifelong learning, and self-improvement. 100 families that are the least likely to have a family member show up in our courts, prisons, or probation departments. Take that number or some portion of it and multiply it by the 7 branch libraries and the main library, and the community impact is clear and substantial. It has been suggested that we could close our library doors and those books will be fine. Unfortunately, that claim is not based on fact, as all of the library's resources could be in jeopardy without proper storage and climate control conditions, all of which would be an added expense to the county. The stewardship of those resources is the responsibility of our county. It's also been suggested by Janet and others, as Janet noted out was not true, that libraries are just all about books. Libraries are a human institution. Janet has mentioned some of the people who are served and about how we provide services for people who are looking for jobs or want to improve their skills. I wanted to remind you that libraries are the people who instill a love in reading and learning in their children and come with them to the library not once or twice, but several times every month. Libraries are people who can't buy books and newspapers and don't have computers, and they may not even have computers in their school, and every child does not have a safe place in which to read and study. We provide that safe place. Libraries are the people who take advantage of our literacy program, a place where people can learn to read without shame. Libraries are the people who tutor them. Libraries serve the people, including we library staff, law enforcement, and public safety who may be laid off, and we can only apply for unemployment other than mail via the internet. If they do not have or cannot afford internet services, the only free service in town is the county library. We partner with you to save lives. People come into our libraries to research their illness. Maybe they can't afford to go to the doctor. They look up their symptoms and they find useful health information. And libraries are the people who volunteer to read to your children during story time. People like our Ebbets Pass Fire Chief Dave Bacher, who educates our children and adults about fire safety. Therefore, we partner with the fire department. A few other facts that I think are being overlooked when in your discussions. Janet has mentioned it and I've mentioned it to you before. The cost effectiveness of the libraries cannot be ignored. The county libraries are about 1% of the general fund and 0.4863%, which is less than 1/2 of 1% of the total county budget. The cost of all branch assistants, as Janet has mentioned, equals 1 plus or minus sheriff's position. Assistants are part-time, we receive no benefits, and most of us don't have a vote in the bargaining unit.
Ms. Devlin, it pains me because I'm sympathetic to your cause, but in order to be consistent with my rule about 5 minutes, I'd like for you to conclude your comments.
Okay, and then one other thing I wanted to say is the main library has already been forced to reduce their staff by 40 cents. Or 40%. I wish it was 40 cents. 40%. Thank you for your time.
There may be questions here. Just Supervisor Walensky, did you have a question?
I just had one comment, which is that after our presentations last week, I'm very appreciative of the last 4 speakers, including the 2 labor representatives and the folks from the library, for taking us out of the ooze and muck that we slipped into and raising the level of discourse and dialogue to a more civilized state. In hard times, we need to look out for one another, not be choosing who gets to walk the plank or drown in what should be a lifeboat with all of us rowing. So thank you very much for the comments.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Robin Van Ness. I'm the Operations Manager and Assistant Administrator for House Calls Home Health Agency. And this is Bobby Cobb. She's the registered nurse and owner of House Calls Home Health Agency. We've been in business for 12 plus years and have serviced over 460 patients a month, 21,576 patient visits in 2008 alone. 60% of these patients reside in Calaveras County in all 5 districts. We are a licensed home health agency and have been trying to obtain a state survey for the past 10 months to get our Medicare provider number reinstated. We had deficiencies cited during the July 2007 state survey that did not involve patient endangerment or fraudulent deficiencies. CMS is the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services. They sent us a letter on February 13, 2008, stating that we are being treated as a low priority tier 4 for new agencies to obtain a state survey. They put us at the very lowest tier and stated that there was no access to care issue in our areas and they would get to us whenever they could. So the letter also stated that if we were able to show proof of an access to care problem in our service areas, they would move us to a higher priority survey. We obtained letters from major hospitals, medical facilities, as well as our local and state dignitaries. We also have statistics and facts. CMS denied the approval for a higher priority status and stated that there are 36 other home health facilities in our service areas. We went over the list, and 31 of the facilities they were 100 plus miles away from our service area. There's no way that they could cover our service area. Some of them were Monterey, San Diego. There's no way that they're going to do home health care in our area. There's 5 other facilities in our area to service our entire San Joaquin, Stanislaus, Calaveras County areas. And out of those 5 in this service area in Calaveras County, there's actually only 2 that cover little small sections. We are the only facility that covers this area. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Resources Administrative Department has designated Calaveras County medically underserved areas for medical care and medical underserved populations. This causes alone an access care issue in Calaveras County. The medical patients and we also serve the medical indigent and that have no other resources, and we're currently servicing all Medicare and Medicaid patients in Calaveras County, and we're doing this for no pay because there's no other facility in the area that's servicing your patients. We are doing this. We are here to go today as our goal to obtain a written support from our Board of Supervisors to obtain expedited survey to regain our Medicare and Medicaid provider number. We will forward this letter of support to Barbara Boxer, United States Senator, to assist with the congressional inquiry her office is preparing for. Barbara Boxer right now is currently doing a congressional inquiry in regard to our facility. She asked us to try to get support from our local dignitaries, which includes you, because Calaveras County, we do, as I said, 60% of our patients reside in your area, and it's a rural area. We're located in Stockton, but we cover this area. So in closing, all we're asking for is your support so we can assist Barbara Boxer with this. And that House Calls Home Health Agency can obtain a survey in an expedited manner due to our significant access to care issue. Home health care saves the government over $30 billion a year, and most important, it saves lives, keeps the elderly in their homes, and not overpopulating our hospitals. Anything to add?
I'm Bobby the nurse they call me, and I lived in Calaveras County for about 20 years. And we have And she said, we have patients right now that are on IVs and suprapubic catheters and Arnold, that people, they don't want to drive that far up. Or we take the good, the bad, and the ugly. I call them challenges. The other agencies call them, not money makers, so they cherry pick. So I've laid off 65 people. I want to get my people back. We had a branch office in San Andreas. I had to close that down. So this, and we're also willing for new agencies, since we're not a new agency, we're also trying to obtain through JACO deemed accreditation so that it won't be a hindrance on the state to give us a survey. It won't cost them anything. We've already paid. So we're having a little bit of back and forth. Even I heard just when you said about being in the same lifeboat or whatever, it's like, yeah, they kind of threw us out. And, I don't know what else I
And
can
that's
say.
part of their cutbacks, basically. They're saying, well, there's 36 other facilities.
They think that we're like in
There's no
LA.
access to
Or,
care.
they don't
but
realize.
They're not. There's not any other agencies. So we're just looking for your support.
Well, there are other agencies, but they'll stay in their area, whereas we go everywhere. And Calaveras County, it's unique. It's, Copperopolis, Arnold, it's big, so.
And we'll leave
Okay.
information for you.
Okay, was Bobby and Robin?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
I think Supervisor Walensky has a comment.
It may help you in your effort to know that there was a comprehensive study done of the West Point area. More than half the families, actually about 65% of the families, were interviewed in a very lengthy process that took all health care issues into account, and the stats were certainly are good proof of what your argument is in terms of unmet need and the challenges of that. You can get that through the Blue Mountain Coalition for Youth. Number that you could call them at would be 293 7009, I believe.
7009?
Yes. And if
I
that-
had to lay nurses off in West Point.
Yes, so please check that out because
Okay,
it's a
thank you.
ready-made survey to prove the point.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Sheriff Dunham.
Good morning, Dennis Downham, Sheriff. I just want to really clarify something. There is not animosity or a war brewing between the Sheriff's Department and the libraries. The person that spoke regarding the libraries is the president of a bargaining unit. She's doing what she needs to do to represent the people that are in her bargaining unit. And I think she expressed herself in a way that left no doubt that she is truly trying everything she can do to represent those people adequately. In fact, that particular bargaining unit votes tomorrow night on the concessions. And I hope the people regarding the library recognize that the Sheriff's Department, through the jail budget, donates significantly every year to the adult tutoring program. We recognize the importance of that. They work with people in our jail to some extent after they leave custody to try to help them to gain some ability to read, some ability to get a GED. So sometimes people have a very difficult time separating Sheriff's Department from Deputy Sheriff's Association or public safety bargaining units. It is not the Sheriff's Office. It is a bunch of dedicated people working in all aspects of the criminal justice system that are quite frankly under the belief that they were fighting for their livelihood. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anyone else wishing to address the board this morning? Morning, Bonnie.
Good morning. My name's Bonnie Newman. I'm from Double Springs, and I had intended to come and rag about the public authority today, but I think I'll whine instead about the budget. Because, I've kind of shut up for a couple of weeks and not said anything about the healthcare workers, but kind of listened to everybody else talk about, not wanting to give up stuff and not wanting to cut. And I'm not real smart. I swear I'm getting stupider every day, but I'm trying to figure this out. There's really not enough money to do what we used to do, right? I mean, there's less money available
That's
for
pretty much.
everywhere. I mean,
That sums it up.
and
Would you like to join our budget team?
I feel like I am. I feel as stressed out as you guys must be. And on a lot of different levels. I'm reading newspaper articles, and they're talking about you guys having to bargain with the three unions, and there's really four. We're a union, too. And somehow we're always forgotten that we're in this, and we're getting cut more than anybody can imagine. We'd be happy to give up some of our vacation time and our sick leave, but we don't got any. None. We don't have any vacation time, any sick leave. And we wouldn't mind maybe giving up a step raise or two, but there are no step raises. When we go in, we get one salary. That's it. I wouldn't mind giving up some of my health benefits, but they're so minimal, and most of my coworkers don't even have any health benefits. We're a group of employees that if our wages get cut to $8 an hour and the governor's threatening to do that, we're going to keep working. We're not going to lay anybody off. And I bet you within our group, if they said, oh, there's going to be 50 invalid people in this county that aren't going to get services because we have to cut, those people would get services if we all had to take $5 an hour. We consider ourselves life and death people. We don't strike, ever. If the money dried out, if, whatever the worst could happen, we don't go on strike. We have given up our right to strike because we feel so strongly about the work that we do. And I keep thinking, if we're all in this together, we all got to give up something. And I read this, one gentleman says, the highest paid people should get the highest cut, the highest cut in, and the lowest people shouldn't get any. The lowest people need to take a cut so they can be part of the solution, even if it's only a 1% cut, because if you're not part of the solution, you become part of the problem. And we want to all participate in being part of the solution. And if you leave anybody out, they become part of the problem. And that's the people that are willing to give up what they've got because they already got it. All right. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anyone else wishing to speak this morning? Morning, Mr. Segala.
Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Al Segala, President of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. And I have a few comments on the budget. I put the comments together in the form of a press release. That way I don't have to write two letters, one to you and another one as a press release. We have 7 thoughts or suggestions. Some of them are a little bit wishy, but we say them anyway. Number 1, be clear on purpose. County government should be about protecting the natural rights of its citizens, not oppressing them. Number 2, CalWorks. More fundamental reform is needed in the welfare system, whereby we would eventually have funding completely voluntary. This means outreach to service clubs, churches, and community groups to achieve an ultimate goal of people helping people without taxation or force. Taking money from one person to give it to another is not philanthropy or moral. It's simply theft. And shouldn't use that kind of process. Personnel. Infrastructure, number 3. Our roads are in pretty good shape considering the plundering the state government has and is doing on the gas tax funds. An independent study should be done to determine if contracting out of road maintenance and other services would be cost effective. Also, some public works rules serve to ban building on parcels served by non-standard existing roads. This is a violation of property rights and very hurtful to the economy and needs to be repealed now. Bus service is operating at a loss deliberately. This should be corrected. That's a rough one because all the counties seem to be doing it. Personnel. It is more important to operate efficiently than to save jobs. The county should compensate employees based on merit and comparative value. Pay should be high enough to attract and keep quality people, and never based on intimidation. Present budget approach seems to be miniaturizing government rather than seeking opportunities for long-term reform. An exception to this is the termination of the CDA, which was wise in our opinion. Hours of operation. Changing some functions to a 4-day week may provide savings and increased performance. Some things you couldn't do that have to deal with the public could disrupt the private economy and cause more damage than the savings that being closed that day would produce. So it has to be really thought out for that. Labor negotiations. Now, the Taxpayer Association is not a union, and we can't intimidate you. We can do anything but suggest things to you and hope that you would take our thoughts into consideration. Labor negotiations. Offers of compensation should only be made after it's known what funds are available. I think a lot of the problem we had this last go-around, you didn't really know what money you're going to have, and yet you're going into negotiations with the various unions, and it's very frustrating because how can you keep your word if you don't know what your word would be? So recent dialogue and idea sharing for cost reductions are commendable. There were a lot of good ideas that came from the public service unions, and some of those are very good. On terminations, there should be assistance in finding new work for those terminated. I used to be a civil service worker when I was young. Actually, I was president of the Hayward Employees Association. And what I found when I changed jobs, when the work, I was a surveyor's field assistant for quite a few years. And when the work we were doing, like building dams, was completed, the organization I worked for, the county government, looked around in other jurisdictions and other places and found work for me. I didn't really have to go searching for work. And this happened 2 or 3 times. I went from different local governments in the Bay Area. And it seemed like I had no guarantee for anything like that. But it showed an extra level of caring when it came time to terminate the work because I was no longer needed. And it might give some consideration for that for people that are being terminated in the county. On another note, we have an opportunity. Actually, we have a wonderful thing
Mr.
happening.
Segala.
Am I out of time?
You are out of time.
I'll have to save for next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ballard.
Good morning. Ed Ballard with the Sheriff's Office. Volume 6, progress report for the jail project. Provided you all with copies of it.
Is that a tissue for the tears?
Yes, sir. Allergies.
Oh, okay.
We're proceeding ahead on plan. PSA Dewberry did complete the pre-design engineering report. We reviewed that. We resubmitted it back to them for some minor changes. They are proceeding with the 30% pre-design. Hopefully that'll all be completed in the 3rd week of August. NGO, who did our geotechnical work, their final report will be due this month, and we're working on all the other issues that we related to you in the past. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I have some questions if the board's has none.
Yes, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
One of the items on the agenda today is going to be a status update on the discussions that my office primarily has been having with the AOC with regard to the transfer of property for the court facility. That agreement contains significant concessions by the county to make it possible. And I noticed in your report there's a mention of this wetlands mitigation, vernal pools issue. I know from participating in some discussions with various groups that there has been a concern that issue may change the footprint of this facility, could ultimately even result in moving the two buildings further apart, which has a direct bearing, a major bearing on the economy of the entire project. The fact that the buildings are contiguous is primarily the reason for the concessions we're making to the AOC. So the discussions with regard to the transfer of property to the AOC are reaching an end point, and I'm wondering if we're going to have an answer to these environmental questions in time, so that we'll understand whether the original plan is still going to be feasible. Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I do. And as a result of those meetings in which you were in, we did proceed in speaking with EDA, who did the initial environmental assessment of that property. We got their experts. Their experts have been working with us. They have gone out to the site. They have done some initial assessment of where we're at. And pending the final result of the work that they'll be doing for us, it looks as if this point right now we're where we should be. So the initial footprint of the building,
it will not be changed.
It looks like we will proceed, but it's entirely subjective at this point, sir. We have to finish up with what they're doing. I can't give you a definite answer as to your relations with the AOC. I can say that we're proceeding to work on those mitigation efforts and get them resolved. It looks like we're heading down the right path, but they still have to conduct their laboratory tests. But just initial conversations we had, it seems like we should be able to proceed with our initial footprint in the tie-in with the AOC or the new courts project.
Okay, thank you.
When will that final work be done on this so that we can be certain? I don't want to be reaching agreements with the court on something that seems to be somewhat speculative.
Again, I would have to get that answer and speak directly with their lead on it and see when their testing are going to be. I could give them a phone call.
Weeks, months? What's the?
I'm Art Lytle with Kitchell. I believe we will have a draft report from EDA by the end of the month. They've been out. They've done their field work.
The problem with that schedule is that, as I'll discuss later, the AOC proposes bringing a final agreement to you next week for your August 11th meeting. That's and we've done so much to meet their scheduling, but that's to accommodate their schedule to go to the Public Works Board for approval of their project sometime in August. So this apparently slight out of sequence here is presenting a very big concern, very big problem.
We can go back to EDA and request getting a direction before your
a verbal report would suffice for these purposes, I think.
Yeah, The biologists that were out at the site are out this week.
Okay.
And that's what's holding up us getting a report from them. I will be more than happy to contact them and say, we got to have something by Monday that gives us direction and see if we can get it.
That would be very helpful, I think. Thank you.
And, keep in mind, we have to add that additional thing that you requested to the scope of work towards getting that accomplished, so. But we'll get on it, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So if I understand correctly, Mr. Laddle, the people that did the on-site analysis are gone, but don't they have supervision? I mean, didn't they share their results with somebody when they went back to their office in Sacramento? And I'm just...
You're talking about the previous?
Yeah. Well, you said that you alluded just now that the people that came out to do the environmental evaluation, the recent one, they're gone this week.
No, they're on site this week.
Oh, they're on site this week. Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I thought you said they were gone. So, all right. Well, tell them I'd like to be introduced to a fairy shrimp personally.
So, any more questions?
Anything else?
All right. Thank you very much for your report.
Time.
Anyone else? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Orby, and I am chair of the Calaveras County Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commission.
Debbie, what is your last name again?
Orby, O-R-B-E. Commission members here today are Millie Mascott, Susan Clay, Nicole Hess, and Zach Smith. Briefly, commissioners are authorized pursuant to the California Welfare and Institution Code and the Calaveras County adopted ordinances and resolutions. All members are appointed by the presiding judges of Superior Court and the County Board of Supervisors and are sworn in by the court. Today, the Commission's Youth Affair Committee would like to present to the board their Teenspiration magazine, which was funded by the Calaveras County Community Foundation grant, With that, I'd like you to meet members of the committee, Nicole and Zach.
This is the Criminal Justice Commission.
Juvenile justice.
Juvenile Justice.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Hess. I'm a senior at Calaveras High School.
My name's Zach Smith. I'm also a senior at Calaveras High School.
So the both of us started a magazine. It's called Teenspiration. We have some copies for you guys. Basically what Teenspiration is about, it's just where teenagers, real teenagers like Zach and I, went through obstacles in life, but we overcame it in a positive way. So for me, example, I'm adopted and I came from a very abusive family, but instead of being so sad about it and depressed and just like carrying that on my shoulder my whole entire life, I decided to make a difference. I decided to have an attitude of everything happens for a reason, and that God gave me my first half of life for a purpose, for a reason. So my friends always asked why I'm such a happy person, and I told them my story, and they were all very shocked because they had no idea I had that life because I have such a positive attitude. So I thought to myself, well, geez, if they didn't know I had a life like that, how many other people have stories and have no idea that they went through that? So Zach and I decided to find some teenagers that went through stuff in life and overcame it in a positive way. We have kids who went through chemotherapy, the foster system, a girl who lost a huge amount of weight, like 80 pounds, but in a very healthy reason, in a very healthy way, and teenagers who've lost parents. And that's just basically what the magazine's about. It's about teenagers who overcome real-life obstacles and overcame it in a positive way.
And the magazine was what actually brought Nicole to the Juvenile Justice Commission, because she was talking to me and she said, so, I'm thinking about starting this magazine, and I was on the commission. We were trying to think of things to do as a commission, and I introduced her to the committee itself, The committee loved the idea, and that's kind of where it took off. She wrote a grant. I just helped her a little bit, but she did most of it. And we got the funding for it, and we've done one large printing, and we are getting ready to start the second edition. We are hopefully going to turn into a biannual magazine and hopefully spread out from Calaveras County to get other teens' stories out to the world, so to say.
Very fine.
What's going to be in your next magazine?
My next magazine will be more teenagers who have overcome obstacles, but I want it to be different obstacles. That way every teenager out there can relate to at least one story and connect themselves. But also I was thinking about doing something, because I live by the quote, every act of random kindness makes a difference. So I was going to make like this little chart and be like, you know, Monday, you know, like try to help an older person put their groceries in the cart, you know. Tuesday, like try to take time and, you know, help a kid, or, you know, just stuff like that. That way kids can realize that the tiniest things you do really do make a huge difference, because the person you help could have had the worst day. That one tiny thing you did could have made their day and, you know, put a smile on their face. And then hopefully in the third magazine, it would acknowledge what the teenagers did, and hopefully that will inspire teenagers just to be like, wow, that tiny little thing that person did, the 2 minutes of their lives made such a big difference in the other person's life. Like, maybe I'll do it as well. And then also I was thinking, Millie's husband gave me this idea to do like a teen investigation where like you have like a local problem. Like we had, was it August or October? The October Festival. Money, I guess, people pay to get in, but her husband has no idea where the money goes, and he was curious as to where the money goes. So what I would do is hire, find volunteers to figure out where the money goes. So basically we'll just like in our local area just like find things for kids and teenagers to solve and update us and tell us what the answer is, and hopefully that will keep them busy and not do other teen activities. So just stuff like that.
I work, Zach Nicole, on the Juvenile Justice Commission, and Zach is also an artist. And if any of you have the opportunity to go to the art show that's done in San Andreas of the students in Calaveras County, there's some very powerful artists there, and Zach happens to be one. And
Thank you.
I feel very honored to be working with both of them. I think the whole commission does. They're very integral parts of our Juvenile Justice Commission. Thank you. Can we have copies?
Yes, absolutely.
You go that way, I'll start here.
Are you giving these away, or do you charge people?
It's a donation of $3.
Okay, board members, you heard that at some point. You can we take checks, cash. You give them to Debbie, it's taken care of. Am I right?
It's all right, Marita. I'm going to read it and then return it. I'll leave it at my branch library.
Good. With a check.
As long as it has your signature on it.
Hi, Millie. Come on forward.
I'm Millie Mascott. We took, Nicole, Sue, and I, we had to attend a training session for juvenile justice in Kelseyville. And we have to share with you that this girl made Calaveras County very proud. She not only presented her magazine, they were so impressed. She was the youngest commissioner there. And what was interesting about it all is the other counties and cities that were there wanted to know how we managed to keep teenagers as commissioners on juvenile justice. They're having difficulty in their areas. And matter of fact, San Francisco has stopped hunting for teenagers to be on their commission. They can't find them. Some of the other counties and cities said that they could keep their commissioners for maybe their teenagers commissioners on for possibly, maybe a couple of months, and then they don't hear or see them anymore. And here we have two here that have been with us a long time. And we're very, very proud of Nicole because she did make the presentation at this session with the Teenspiration magazine. And some of the commissioners took several back to their areas and are going to share with the rest of their commission and their areas. But the nice part was one of the state representatives for the Juvenile Justice wants to put this on the State Juvenile Justice Commission website, her Teenspiration. And we said, fine, if that's what they want to do, because this really helps our commission. And we've gotten to be pretty well known now in Calaveras County because we were asked, how do you do this? And yet, we do it here in this county. So we should be very proud of what we have. And of Zach, and of course, of Nicole.
So supervisors, the challenge is finding some people to be on the commission, some teenagers. We'd appreciate it.
Okay, Nicole and Zach will be continuing throughout their senior year. Okay. Would they have an opportunity to stay on if they stay local and study locally?
As long as they're a teenager.
I'm curious about where this is printed. It's so nicely done and nicely bound.
Anchor Prints.
Anchor Prints?
Right next to Providence High School.
Ah, great. It's very nice. Thanks for bringing this to us. Any other comments on this? Yes, come forward. Certainly.
A little nervous. Sorry, I'm Catherine Gardner. I'm a resident of Nono. I was just wondering, since we're all in such financial need, the state, the county, the government, why are we having a special election for one person? Couldn't you did a 2/3 vote for it temporarily until the next general election and save the county some money by not printing up all the ballots and saying
The county is reimbursed for Calaveras County Water District for doing that election. And that happens to be the time frame of when their elected officials come up. And the last one we had in Ebbets Pass was Ebbets Pass Fire District. And they also reimbursed the county for those costs. When the county and all the agencies in the county can combine, which they do sometimes, then we have them all on one ballot. But because of their time frame for when they need to get things done, such as when Ebbets Pass Fire did, or in this case Calaveras County, they are doing at this time all mail ballots for the last two. They do reimburse the county of Calaveras for those expenses.
if it was held during a general election, would they still reimburse you for their candidates?
Yes. Anyone who participates, whether it's a candidate or an agency, pays their fair share of the ballot that goes out.
Thank you.
And again, Catherine, what was your last name?
Gardner.
Gardner?
Gardner.
Gardner, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just also to note that there are other elections going on at the same time in other parts of the county. The water district has other districts where they're holding elections. Fire districts are holding elections. So countywide, it's not. This isn't the only election taking place right now.
I know they have them all the time, but I just wondering if it would be cheaper to wait until the general election instead of having them all here and there, whenever. Why can't they all November? I mean, that's usually when our general elections are held.
That's the time frame by law for those districts.
Okay, do we have any other persons wishing to address the board?
I'd just like to let you know that Double Springs is like a piece of glass. The road department did such a good job. I cannot tell you. It's like You can't even hear your tires touching the ground. They still don't cut trees worth of poop, but they have this road thing. This road thing they have down. Perfect. My next concern, of course, is, how fast are these people going to be going down Double Springs, because you can't hear them coming anymore. And very quickly, I want to tell you something that happened on Double Springs, because you guys, I come to whine, to rag, or to educate. So today I'm just going to tell you about something that happened on Double Springs. The other night I went out to water my trees, and I walk out into the street, and there's these two big black cows sitting out there. Black cows on Double Springs, you can't see them. So I think, oh, they must have come out of the... You can't keep cows in. They're terrible. Get on the phone, call the rancher from McCollamy Hill. He's got to come down, because I'm scared of big black cows. Any cow. They kind of scare me. So he's going to take 15 minutes. So I get my cone, I put it in the street, I get my flashlights, and I'm waiting for the cars to come, because cars come real fast on Double Springs. I'm listening, no car. Then I hear, ooh, the top of the hill. Eee! So something's coming. I get out of the road. I got my flashlights, so I'm on the side of the road now. Hey, you guys, slow down there! He hit the cone, clunka, 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 under the car about 200 yards down the road. These two dumb black cows sitting there going, about 2 feet away from this car full of kids. They would have been so surprised if they would have hit those black cows. We probably would have had hamburger meat on Double Springs for a month, but Double Springs is a freeway. Whee! And you come from the top of the hill. Carol, how fast do they go on Double Springs? 70? Sometimes. It's
Maybe,
scary.
Carol, you could put some potholes in the road.
We used to have potholes.
Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, if there's no one else. Whoops. Mr. Baker, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
It has been brought to my attention that Terry Baker, I'm talking about the commercial agricultural cock ranch operation next door, but it has been brought to my attention that since that when I'm up here, I get a little excited. And I do want to apologize to anybody if I have offended anyone. And I would like to apologize in advance for the next time it happens. Now,
Thanks, Terry.
Friday, my neighbor David Redmond tore down my gate again, and this is the police report. And, I gave him the benefit of the doubt when he gave me this deed that is, from 1971. But then after looking it over, and here's a map that has the road on it, this is the fourth time he's done this, and nobody will even address it. Now, they got a couple hundred birds. I don't know what they are, but this morning I got up at 5 o'clock and I just made a little recording, just so you guys get it. I mean, I've been here telling you this. This is my bedroom, okay? It never stops. They're just warming up. It's not light yet. And if I go outside, you got to wear earplugs. It never stops. It just goes on and on and on and on. And the ones you're hearing that you barely hear, those are over on the other side of 5 acres away. Those are for Beverly and Leo. That's in their bedroom. Real loud one. Oh my. Warren, she's been excited, she's been sentenced, and it's been 4 years since then, I mean, what are we supposed to do? This is before we even get up. If I go home right now, they're screaming loud as heck. Last Friday, I had the sheriff out at my house, and he heard this. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. I told him I want to put a citizen's arrest on Mrs. Redmond because she has been convicted and she has been sentenced. I also put a citizen's arrest against Mr. Redmond for vandalizing my gate. They went down to his house with 2 forms signed by me that I would take full responsibility for these arrests. They came back and told me, showed me what Mr. Redmond said, so he was off on the gate because Mr. Redmond said, he has the right to tear down my gate. And on the birds, the deputy told me that Mrs. Redmond was not home. I said, well, I saw her right there. His answer was, well, I'm not going to kick down any doors. So, all we're asking for is for someone to do the right thing. Thanks. Railroad map. On 4 acres. This is 4 acres, and they need 20 acres to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. I was falling asleep and I just got awakened. So, roosters do that. Okay. All right. We have item number 5 on our agenda now. This comes to us from the County Council. This is a discussion and possible action approving additional term for an agreement to transfer, or additional term for the agreement to transfer the approximately 7 acres to the Administrative Office of the Courts. Mr. Jones.
This came before you on July 7th with a draft document that I recommended against approving. The board was polled, and it was clear that there was no support for the agreement. At the request of the AOC, the board took no final action. The board directed me to put this back on the agenda for a status report for today, and that's what I'm about to do. I have to apologize. The board packet that you were given included the exact same packet that was before you on July 7th. It's just been redated, and I know it caused some confusion. This is not the action item today, but it does give good background as to what the issues were. Then I've handed out this morning a one-page status report, again, hot off the press, but this is a discussion that was had last night in Mr. Lawton's office until around 5 o'clock. So this is the latest and the greatest development, and sort of tells you where we are. The problem with the agreement that was before you on July 7th are the three problems that I've listed at the top of the page. They wanted the county to complete all of the infrastructure, which is the government center road, sewer, electrical, all of that stuff would have to have been completed by the time of their commencement of construction. The objection I had about that is that it upset our construction schedule, and it caused us to go to a major expense and inconvenience to provide a service that they could not use for several months. They wanted it because they wanted an assurance that the work would be done before they spent any money on their construction project. So that was in my mind, a very significant problem. They also had imposed or tried to impose a requirement that we reimburse them for all of their planning and all of their expenses if for some reason we failed to meet our obligations under the agreement. And finally, they wanted the right to build the road and put in the utilities at our expense if we failed to do it. They would, in essence, go in and do the work themselves and then send us a bill for it. Those were the three issues that I felt were problematical. We've had many discussions since then. This has been there's been nothing in my experience that relates to the process of negotiating with the AOC, reaching tentative agreements. There's been a third or fourth party in the background, which is the interests of the Department of Finance, the Public Works Board, Department of General Services. In their defense, the AOC talks to us, then goes and talks to those agencies. They have come back to us with changes, modifications, and it has been an exceptionally time-consuming and frustrating process for all concerned. So that's where we are. As of last night, I think we've come to the agreement that's set forth in the second half of this one-page summary. The infrastructure requirement has been changed. Rather than building the entire road and installing the complete sewer system, we would commit to constructing a points of attachment. Now, I'm not sure that I understand that. I asked Art Lytle to be here to answer any questions that you might have. I think it's sort of a minimal construction of the utilities with a schedule that's left open and rather vague. The language that I've quoted in here is from their proposed agreement. It would be the balance of the infrastructure work would be done in a time frame that is typical of construction industry practices. Art, maybe you could comment as to, practically speaking, what this change would mean to your schedule.
Basically, and again, I'm Art Lytle with Kitchell, what it means is that at the point when they start construction, we would have their points of connection in place so that they can go from that point of connection to where their building's going to be, and they can start running their lines, pipes, conduits, whatever. The second part of that talks about it being active at the point when, in construction when they would normally need it. A year into their construction, maybe a year and a half, they would need water and sewer and electrical. That would be in place. It would be complete. Talking with Calaveras Public Utility District, they make the final taps of the water main into their main, and because of the size, they go out and get an outside contractor. Those are two issues that we don't have a control over, and that's why getting substantial completion of all utilities by the time they start construction would be very difficult, because there's two things that we don't have a control over. And that's why they were willing to change it to what they have now, and it gives us longer time to complete this and get it operational for them.
The requirement that we reimburse them for their expenses, we've made it very clear that that was flatly unacceptable, and that's been removed. The third item, their ability to do this work at their own expense and then bill us back has been capped. It's been capped by the amount that they will ultimately owe us, which is $200,000 that we've already advanced as a loan to them, and the $500,000, which is the cap on their off-site traffic mitigation. So that they retain the ability to do all of this work and take a credit against what they owe us. So that third item is, I guess, one that I feel neutral about. It's probably a good middle area, a reasonable compromise. The final issue it relates to, I think, an ongoing discussion about primarily about the traffic impact of this project. When the environmental review was done, leading up to the mitigated negative deck, certain assumptions were made about the impact of traffic on these projects, and the mitigations were flowed from those assumptions. I think there's been ongoing discussion about updating the evidence, the information as to the traffic impacts, and if I stress, if it can be done in compliance with the law, we wanted to reserve the right to possibly throttle back on the required traffic mitigations, again, if they're warranted. So we're currently wrestling with some language that will just recognize the ability that for us to keep the door open to further review of these environmental impacts. If you have any questions about that, I can see about having Janice talk further, but she assures me that CEQA does allow for sort of an ongoing review of the process during the process. So that one issue does need to be resolved, hopefully today. Their schedule, as I told you earlier, is to have this completed. They're talking with their various contacts, the various bureaucracies that I mentioned earlier, tomorrow, and they hope to bring a final document back to you once again for approval at your meeting next week. And again, that schedule is driven by their need to go to the Public Works Board sometime this month to approve their project. The board packet from July again summarizes the benefits of the agreement, the commitments. Once this agreement is in place, then regardless of what happens with the jail project, we will have the commitment to do these things. So, which is why I think it's important that we work as hard as possible to try to resolve this question of the wetlands clearance that was discussed earlier. So that's where we are today, as of today, and the plan over the next few weeks. I'm prepared to try to answer any questions that you have.
Supervisor Walensky?
I understand the remaining issue in the context that you put it here. I have another context I'd like to pose and see what our prospects are. When we started this, I don't think we anticipated, when we did a mitigated negative deck, some of the things that we may have found since. And I'm wondering what the prospects of that mitigated negative deck holding up through this process is now. How do we see that?
Well, I think we're still investigating whether the underlying facts have changed. I think that's the point of this most recent and urgent investigation, is to see if anything has changed. Based on what I've seen, the evidence is far from clear that there has been any change. So I guess that's...
You mean in the footprint of the buildings, the change?
Well, the change, this issue of possible vernal pools up there is potentially driving the change in the footprint, which has the long-term effect that affects everything everything else. So I think the immediate investigation is to figure out if there truly are vernal pools up there, and if so, what needs to be done to accommodate that. But there's no clear indication as to whether that anything has changed at this point.
You'll be bringing this back then?
I'll bring it back again, depending on the ball is back in the AOC court. As I told you, they're meeting with their team tomorrow.
You should state what AOC stands for. Just for the
Administrative Office of the Courts. Excuse me. They will or will not have a final agreement to bring forth to you next week.
I just have a question on this item number 3, that if I'm reading it correctly, that under certain circumstances, that's what I'm kind of wondering about, what the circumstances might be that would trigger their ability to go out and spend $700,000. I mean, that you said earlier that would be precipitated by their definition that we aren't progressing fast enough for them?
No. It's not that arbitrary. If for some reason we were to default on our obligation to finish the road, the access road, and provide for the sewer and electric, the various utilities. If we default on that, then that would operate essentially to forgive the loan, the money they owe us. They currently owe us $200,000, as well as they could take a credit against the cap of $500,000 that they're committed to do for the off-site traffic mitigation. Again, to back off, the mitigated negative deck requires that the county do certain off-site road improvements to accommodate for the increase in traffic. The agreement that we've arrived at, that you've already discussed, we sought to have them accept the responsibility to pay their fair share of that traffic impact. For reasons, I guess, for budget reasons, they have insisted that they could only pay their fair share up to a cap of $500,000. I've always pointed out the fact that it's entirely inconsistent to cap a fair share. A fair share is whatever it is. But we've also brought you evidence from Public Works that $500,000 is a very conservative number that will presumably more than cover their fair share of the cost. So again, it's just part of the overall deal. Once motivated by the county's desire to have these facilities co-located. The problem that I think that we all struggle with is the inability to put a number on that. There's no way of telling you what the savings is by having the buildings together. We're told by the sheriff's office in common sense that it's a significant savings over the long haul. And in return for that benefit, you've agreed to make these concessions. So that's where we are.
Yes, Supervisor.
Got a couple other things for you on the question of the remaining issue. When you say language confirming a county may amend or delete mitigation measures in the adopted mitigated negative deck, is there resistance to the concept from the courts that we would not have that option? I would find that surprising, since it was the courts that have interpreted CEQA.
This is
we're needing protection.
The fact that they're the administrative office of the courts doesn't give them any authority over the court process, really none whatsoever. And I think this discussion took place last night around 5 o'clock in Bob's office. I have to confess to you, I did not understand their objection. It made no sense to me. But they have it. They're concerned about it. They're looking into it. My guess is that some legal research on their part and some common sense and maybe a conversation today with Janice, and they will back away from it.
I would hope so.
It had to do with not having any loose strings when they go to the Public Works Board. They're concerned that this language would be a red flag with the Public Works Board, that maybe there was some further environmental issue that needed to be resolved, and that may cause them a problem with the Public Works Board approval. Could be. I don't know. I've never been in front of that board, but that's the reason they articulated for having a problem with it.
And then finally, I just, for my own purposes, I want to understand the arrangement here. Should we not build a jail in that location, we would still owe out of the jail funds up to $700,000 for their share of infrastructure. Is that is the result of this? Should we approve this?
That's where, and you would be committed to providing 7 acres in return for which you get back this facility. So that presumably is a wash.
The offset there. All right. And so the risk is that in as much as we don't have an exact location or final results of the environmental review that's going on right now, that we could be risking up to that.
I think so. Possibly more. I'd have I'd want to give it some thought to evaluate the total risks involved, but.
I'd like to know that before we come back next week on it, if that's possible.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, so as I understand it, this is, we need not make any action on this other than just to resolve to do it.
Informative.
Next.
There's nothing before you to act on.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 6. This is a discussion and possible action regarding a resolution authorizing an expenditure contract not to exceed $45,000 between the County of Calaveras and Pioneer Cleaning Service for janitorial services at the offices of the Calaveras Works and Human Services Agency building. This covers a period from July 1st, 2009 through June 30th, 2010. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. Mary Sawicki, Director of Calaveras Works and Human Services. This particular service has been providing services at the CalWorks building since 2002. There was an RFP issued back in July of 2007 by the County Administrative Office. This particular provider has once again won the bid. It is because janitorial services is one of the purviews of the board in contracting. We are here today asking your permission to renew the contract for 1 year.
I'll move the item, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the discussion. I saw Mr. Studley in the parking lot this morning, and he wanted to make sure that there was an exclusion for emptying waste baskets. So.
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Okay, all right. Right.
And before we vote, I did have a personal question for Ms. Sawicki. The wrist injury, is that fending off blows from the state budget, or what do we got going here?
I'm going to have it casted for the state.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mary. Okay, item number 7. This is a discussion of possible action regarding approval of a memorandum of understanding authorizing the chair of the Board of Supervisors and the Director of Calaveras Works and Human Services Agency to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency, also known as ATCA, for Calaveras County, Calaveras Works and Human Services Agency to be a partner agency in the application for homeless prevention and rapid rehousing program, funds administered by the California State Department of Housing and Community Development for a period of August 4th, 2009 through September 30th, 2012. Yes, Mary.
This particular item allows the county to join with Amador and Tuolumne County in applying for stimulus funding for housing. I do need to make a minor change in this particular agenda item because yesterday we received a notice from ATCA that the amount is not actually $230,000, it's $240,000, of which the county would be, if the funds are received, would be $210,000 instead of $200,000. All other figures are exactly the same.
Okay, any questions on this item? Did we hear a motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve this item. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 8. This is a discussion and possible action regarding the introduction of an ordinance amending sections 8.06.900, 12.02.380, 13.13.12, 15.04.065, 16.24.030, 17.04.110, 17.04.230, 17.56.080, 17.56.130, 17.56.160. These are all sections in the county code regarding references to the Community Development Agency and or the Community Development Director. This is brought to us by Christine.
Good morning, Chris Poe
Poe.
with the Planning Department. On May 5th, the board voted to disband the Community Development Agency, and so this is just the final dissolution of the department and separating the various codes to the various departments.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Christine. All right, we have arrived at our 10 o'clock item, board matters, review of correspondence, reports, and of various matters of concern. Could we please start with Supervisor Callaway?
I've had the past property owners council this week, Area 12 Agency on Aging. And on Thursday night, I'll be listening to a talk by a Medal of Honor winner, which the Arnold Rotary's putting on.
Are you a
I'm
member
kind
of,
of moved. I used to be a member of Rotary.
of Arnold chapter?
And then, no, of Angels Murphy's before, but I heard Tom was going to become a Rotarian, so I left.
And
was that a smart move? Or?
Very.
When Marita left, why, the membership soared.
They
Actually, it
disbanded.
didn't.
I want to know if those were your black cows out there.
Yeah, well, if they're not branded, they're mine. I'll go pick them up.
Does that conclude your report?
For board appointed, yes, thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Topanelli.
I have nothing to report other than I will be attending Music in the Park on Wednesday.
And the location?
Turner Park in San Andreas at 6:30.
Are you singing? Or playing
No,
an
I am
instrument?
not singing.
Oh, you're just drinking wine and eating?
That's what I'm going to do.
That's what you're going to do.
You want to join me?
Yeah, well, you know, do you have an extra bottle?
I won't have any beef, though.
No salami and cheese?
Maybe some cheese and crackers.
There you go.
That's all I have.
Turner Park's kind of right in the middle of your district, so you have an obligation to go, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll see you there. Supervisor Walensky.
Today at 4 o'clock, I have the Mental Health Advisory Board meeting. I have the West Point Scholarship Association meeting after that tonight. Tomorrow, there's a meeting of the Amador Calaveras Consensus Project, co-sponsored with Sierra Nevada Conservancy and the CHIPS Project. I want to invite you all to a lunch that's being held at the Buena Vista Power Plant. This is a former lignite plant that's been converted to woody biomass. We'll be providing the electricity for 15,000 homes. Most of its entitlements have been cleared. It's in the now in the stages, having just secured $2 million of renovation investment in refurbishing the plant and getting it ready for operation next year. They are hosting a tour of the plant and luncheon at 1 o'clock at the Buena Vista plant itself. And that is after the consensus meeting, which is at 9:30 in West Point at the American Legion Hall. On Friday, I have First Five commission meeting at 9:30 in the morning, and that's all my board stuff.
Supervisor Tryon.
I do not have anything to report today, Mr. Chair.
Okay. On tomorrow I'll be going to a Central Sierra Economic Development meeting, and then in the afternoon or the early evening, I'll be checking out the music in Turner Park, and I think that just about concludes my activities for this week. Do want to, well, I'm not through. I do want to mention a couple of events that some of us supervisors went to on Friday night. The Calaveras County Wine Grape Alliance had a barbecue, wine tour and barbecue that was well attended at the Broll Mountain Vineyards, a very delightful affair. And then Supervisor Walensky, I didn't get a passport into your district, but I was there at Sheep Ranch on Saturday night for the annual Cajun Fete, which was really quite a delightful event. Tom Rigney had everybody rocking and yelling once again, so it was really quite an enjoyable event. I recommend it to anybody. I didn't see you there, CAO Lawton, but you should have been there. I know you're such a dancer.
Would have, should have.
Do you have anything to report to us this morning?
Not today, sir.
Mr. Jones?
Nothing here.
Nothing here? Carol?
Not even on Double Springs Ranch Road and how smooth it is? You're not going to...
Smooth as glass.
And how are your trees doing? No, sorry, I asked.
Nobody mentioned the Farm Bureau dinner. Is that this Saturday night?
Saturday night.
Are you going to attend that, Tom?
I'm not certain at this point.
It's at Pickle Patch?
I think it's quick.
Oh, that's right. Conflict with that. All right, we have a closed session scheduled. This is Government Code Section 54957.6, a conference with the labor negotiator. It's my understanding that we have some participation that we require from Mr. Avery. He will not be able to be here until 3 o'clock, flying in from Sacramento. So at the boards, we can do this democratically. We can go in and talk for a while and then break for lunch, come back at 3, or you just want to come back at 2?
I'm committed this afternoon. I'm not going to be available at 3.
Okay, Supervisor Walensky has a problem at 4.
Well, why don't we just have him come next week? I mean, it's a report, right? It's not direction.
Well, we appear to have some tentative.
You have units outstanding. You know, there are matters to be discussed, and his participation later will be ultimately desirable. But I'm sure there are conversations which the board may profitably have prior to his getting here. So I would not dispense entirely with the closed session at this time. That would not be your administrator's recommendation.
I would suggest that we begin the closed session with what information is available and then adjourn it to 3 o'clock.
Okay. You got to give us more notice.
I'd be in favor of that.
Like right now, we're supposed to be here at 3 o'clock. I mean, I could have made arrangements, but I can't make arrangements now, for heaven's sakes. I mean, you guys must have, when did you find out Avery?
I found out yesterday that he would not be able to be here. He has a 12 o'clock session in another city. He'll be flying here in his private plane after that. He said mid-afternoon. It could be 2, but...
All right. Well, let's begin.
We have a 2 o'clock. Bob and I have a 2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock?
We have a 2
All right.
o'clock with
Well,
Calaveras Public Power.
Oh.
I think
You just said at 2 o'clock.
Let's.
it's. I think I heard 3 supervisors express a desire to go into closed session now to preliminarily discuss these issues, and those of us who can attend when Mr. Avery arrives, then we will continue the discussion. All right, thanks everyone for coming today. This meeting is adjourned.